Well, here we are. Here we are. Thank you for that wonderful sharing of the tradition to light the candle, the Hanukkah. It's just very touching that we can do that all together. And I want to start off today to really acknowledging the freedom that we all have. I think sometimes we forget how amazing it is that we have the freedom to gather and celebrate this Sunday morning, any moment of the day, really, the way we choose and the way we are feeling called. And what a blessing it is to live in a place where we can do that. So that's what I'm present to this morning. My talk is called Conscious Completion, and it's a little interesting because we are definitely in a time, and often this teaching is looked at as a teaching that is great about new beginnings, right? We just heard this song, what's my next greatest thing to be? And yet, what comes before we get there? We have to end some other great beginning. And so that is what we're going to talk about today, the moment and the moments, really, that help us prepare to open up to these new beginnings. I'm going to share a couple personal stories. As many of you know, as I completed this year with being Reverend Karen Lewis. I took on a new name. I became a U.S. citizen a couple of months ago, and with that, you can choose a new name. And so I chose my name to be Reverend Karen Einhaus, which means one house. Love that quality of the divine, and it happens to be my mother's maiden name. So that worked out perfectly for the authorities. They want to, they want to see that there's some connection. Before I was able to take on that new name and really embody it, I had to complete with all that was attached to being Karen Lewis. And so that is what we're going to talk about today. And I am going to just talk a little while, actually, because I'm sure you can hear my voice is a little scratchy. I apologize for that. And then we're going to do a process because I don't have to speak much when I lead you through a process. So, when we look back, a lot of the sages give us hints and direction about this idea of completing. I know Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm going to paraphrase him, he said something like, make sure you're done with every day. For sure, some atrocities and blunders came into it, but just let him go so that you can be available for the new. This idea of conscious completion is really rooted in Zen Buddhism. And so I thought a story from that tradition would be fitting. There were two monks that were traveling, an older one, a wiser one, and a young one, and they were traveling for hours, and in their travels, they come to this big river, and their travels needed them to go to the other side. And right where they found a place where they could go across the river was also a young woman, clearly wanting to cross. And so the older Buddhist monk picked up this woman, put her on his shoulders, crossed the river. He set her down gently, and they all traveled their separate ways. After a couple of hours, the younger monk said, I cannot hold this in any longer. You know we are not supposed to have contact with women, and why did you pick her up and carry her across the river? And the older monk said, I set her down at the other side. Why are you still carrying her? I love those stories because there it is, right? We all have a tendency to pick up things and then not lay them down, not acknowledge that everything truly in this physical realm has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And what do? Well, I just speak for myself. Here's what I often do. Oh, I have this great new idea. I'm going to do something amazing. And then I'm going to do it a little bit, and then I'm doing it some more. I'm going to get more people involved because I want to play with people. We're all doing it. We're doing it. It's great. It's great. It's great. Oh, yeah, now it's going. And then at some point, it pitters out or it ends. But we miss saying, there's an ending. Let's come together and acknowledge the good that came from this, the challenges that we had with this. What have I learned through this experience? How has it changed me so I can now go back to the beginning and be really excited about something else? Now, we might think that we do that sometimes, right? We just here as a community, we had a couple completions, and we are really good at that. We talk a lot about it, and we say we need to take the time to come together and have conversations and really see what is completing, what did we learn, how do we want to do it different next time, and honor the completion. And how can we bring this more into our everyday life? Because it's not just the big things. It's not just the completing of a relationship or the completing of a career or the completing of dreams that are being laid down or the completing of a life lived here on planet Earth. It's not just those big completions. It really starts with the little things, with the small, maybe 1 or 2 week-long things. The more we are able to be mindful and aware, something is coming to an end. Let me spend some time. Let me be with, what was this all about? So I can open up to the next. Now, here we are in 2022, and I can tell you that our culture is not supporting this. So we need to really, if this resonates with you, you need to be aware that it will take some effort. Because what is our culture telling us? More. There's something else. The grass is greener. If only those, longer legs, more beautiful hair, or whatever it is. That's what the culture is almost propelling us forward to, starting something new. And so I thought before we get into that extreme energy of starting something new in just 10 short days, I think, 12, let us become aware of where we are called to complete. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of our teaching here, says it this way: are you, like all the rest of us, carrying a lot into today that you want to let go of? If so, it's up to you to rearrange your thoughts about yesterday so that there won't be any fear or hurt carried over into today. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Ernest Holmes. I too would love to find a practice that would help me with that. Because isn't it often that we get stuck in wanting to hold on to something that has come to a natural completion? Isn't it often that we don't quite are ready for the new or start something new, but bring all of the things that we haven't truly completed with into that experience? If any of us had more than one relationship, you might be able to relate to that, right? If we don't take the time to complete and really see what was mine and what was the other person's, and be willing to speak it, be aware of it, and then let it go and detach from it, then we're bringing it into the new relationship. Somebody has said if we don't take the time to complete, it's like a punctuation is missing and we have these run-on sentences that just keep going and going and going. So what does it take? Well, first of all, it takes awareness. It takes awareness. It takes a willingness to have a look at what we're going through, perhaps a little differently, to pull ourselves out of the emotions enough that we can have a look at what is coming to an end and feel our feelings without being so stuck in it. I see some nods here. I think I see a couple over on our online campus too. There's a difference of setting aside time to look at what has just completed and allow it to move through us than being in it and being angry about it. Then it feels like we are carrying this very heavy burden. There is a quote, I think we have a picture of it, that talks about and invites us to practice non-attachment. And I love how Angela's Arian talks about non-attachment. She says, non-attachment isn't about being indifferent or not caring, but it's about life and events to unfold without us having to strong-arm them into what we think they should be. And isn't that how it feels often? Pushing so much up a hill. When we really are called to lay it down. A couple of years ago, I discovered this wonderful blessing of the 7 directions, and I see Reverend Catherine McDowell is actually here, so blessings to you right there. And Reverend Catherine McDowell has been the one who introduced me to this practice. And in the practice, many of you know it, but for those of you who are new to it, it's a practice where we honor what is starting by facing the east, where the sun is rising, and then we honor what is full expression in our life by turning to the south. And then we turn to the west, and we honor that, what it's coming to completion in our life. And then it goes on to the north, the heavens above, and the earth and the light within. But that practice, and especially when we turn to the west, this moment of invitation to really become aware of what is completing in my life. I've noticed that the more I do that particular practice, things are coming up that are completing that I wasn't aware of in my regular going through this day and handling things. So that is what this practice here that I'm talking about today, this conscious completion, or perhaps we call it honorable closure, that is what is called for. First, to pause and to bring awareness to that, what wants to complete, what is completing, what has to complete, and also to the things where we like, can I please be done with this one? Right? Because as much as we like to think that we are done with it, until we are complete and we can speak about it, and whoever is part of that can walk through our mind unharmed, we are really truly not detached from it. It is still holding on and using up some of our energy. So everything here has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And we don't often talk about the endings. One thing that I have found is that the veil between the mundane and the sacred is really the thinnest at endings. If any one of us has ever sat with a beloved who are getting ready to make their transition to complete this life, you know what I'm talking about. The ease often in which they go in and out of this physical presence here and to the sacred beyond. That is available in any ending. If we bring awareness and consciousness to it, we can really benefit from the thinness of stepping into the sacred. So that even if a relationship, a job, a connection was not what we hoped it to be, going through this process helps us to lay it down. And so I would like to go to this process together with all of you. Would that be all right? Yeah. And let me find that. So I'm going to lead us into a centering, and I will give us some fill in the blanks. And I will give them to us now so we know what's coming, and then we'll kind of walk it through together as a practice. And I will allow time for you for something to rise up. So the idea is that each person is coming up with their own personal end, something that is ending or completing. It can be something that has completed a long time ago, but you still feel that attachment to it. And the prompts are, I fondly remember, I miss or mourn, this is what I learned, this is what I appreciate, and this is what I feel. And so I invite you to feel your feet on the floor. Know with me that there is one life, and one mind, one benevolent presence, a power for good. And that this power for good is for you, that supports you, and it is in you. It is your inner wisdom and love. And with that love surrounding you, bring gently to mind that thing that is ending or has already ended. Or it could be something that was over quite a while ago, but still feels incomplete. And as you bring this experience forward in your mind, allow these prompts to guide you. What are you fondly remembering? What were some great things about it? What was the goodness? And now bring to mind something about the same experience that you miss or will miss. Something that makes you sad, that you'll mourn. Just gently bring it to mind. And it's okay to feel it right here. Just feel the feels. And now we move on. What did you learn from this experience? What can you use as you move forward? Recognizing that everything has a gift for us. And the next is, what do you really appreciate about the wholeness of having had this experience? What is the bottom line good now that it is over? And this is where we check into our feelings. How does it feel to have consciously recognized this ending? I invite you to take an in-breath, and on the out-breath, just say done. Feel the done. Feel being done with it. Feel the gratitude. Feel the completeness. Let it be. Thank you for participating in this process. These 5 questions that we ask ourselves are really designed to help us to look at it, whatever it is, from all different parts and points of view, so that we can truly lay it down. And my last point, what I want to leave you with is, transition is demanding. It is demanding. And we are in a time of great big changes. In addition to what is happening in our personal lives, a lot of things are coming to an end in the collective. And so the call is to meet yourself with compassion, loving kindness, and great tenderness. If you engage in this work, if you are brave enough to take a look at what wants to become complete, or what do I need to acknowledge that already is complete in my life, meet yourself with all the love that you can gather up. Because it takes love and an approach of compassion and kindness to do this work. And so that is where I would like to end. The call, if you're engaging in this practice, if you want to deepen into conscious completion, there's a lot of work out there. You can always reach out to our practitioners, to our ministers. We love to do this work together with you. And to know that it will take all the love that we have. I'm so grateful we are on this journey together, and I'm going to take us right into prayer. So I invite you again to close your eyes and just feel the warmth that is present here, highlighted by the realization that there is only one power that we call love, that is the divine and that is everywhere present. And as we open our hearts and minds to, as we are realizing that right in the center of our being, this divine goodness resides and is looking for ways to express, to shine outward. And so we call this love forth. As we engage in connection, as we engage in the work for ourselves, as we support beloveds around us who are engaged in this work, I just call on love, love, love. For I know that is a quality that heals. And so it is with such a grateful heart, gratitude for this time spent together, that I simply release this word into universal law. I call it good, and so it is.